Scott, how are we today?
Doing well. How are you, Heidi?
Doing really, really well, thank you. Now, we've been chatting a little bit before the show, and I'm so excited to have you on with us today. Scott, you're joining us from Texas, and you're a fifth-generation cowboy with a business degree, which is so inspiring to me because so often, people that I guess grow up on the land often will stick to what they know. But then more and more, we're seeing a lot of people gravitate towards different areas when it comes to business. And I love the fact that you've matched the two. Now, you call yourself a cowboy entrepreneur. What does that mean?
Oh, there's so many industries within the Western or within the horse world and the ranching world. There's farmers and cowboys and bootmakers and camera people. There's so many entrepreneurs. And we're just trying to pull them all together and tell their story and hopefully inspire some people.
That's so fantastic. And tell me, what platforms are you using to get your message out there?
Oh, we're on the radio, and we have plenty of social media, which I'm not going to even tend to act like I know more than you do. But we're on all the major platforms. I think we're on 15 platforms now, from YouTube to Spotify to Apple and Google and such.
Excellent. And you're also, I guess, the KCAA and NBC. For those people that aren't familiar around those channels here in Australia, tell us about the significance of that, to be able to, I guess, broadcast your story and other people's stories about how they're working, living, breathing American agriculture on those sorts of networks.
Absolutely. So we have the podcast, the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, the podcast. So it's on all the platforms. Well, we wanted to do the radio as well. So we're on KCAA, NBC, like you said, out in California. And there's some people that might not know we're on a podcast. They might even be in a city somewhere and never even touched a land, been on land. So we want to reach those people. We want to tell our stories, and we use social media mainly, but that helps us as well to reach people that might not know our lifestyle.
Fantastic. That's excellent. Well, look, it's again an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Tell me about how you started out with your entrepreneurial journey. What made you think, right, I'm going to go after that business degree now?
Well, when I was a child, I loved business. I loved doing different things, and somehow you get rewarded with money, or trade sometimes, and I love that because I would try and do something else. And really, being an entrepreneur, you're helping solve a problem. Yeah. Just like your company, there's so many people that don't know how to use social media like you, so you fix the problem. And that's what I loved. I loved helping people, and it just kind of grew from there.
Fantastic. And I guess how are people in the USA empowering their farmers to tell their story?
Some of them are reluctant to because they don't know they don't think people would want to hear their story. But every day in a life of a farmer, a rancher, or a cowboy, it's so cool. And so many people want to know what it's like as they're driving to their office, so it's important for them to tell their story. For one, for somebody that might not ever get in the industry, but just to understand it. And for two, that they might come into the industry if they understand how cool it really is.
Yeah, I mean, for some of us, it can feel like Groundhog Day, right? But for someone who's not in our environment, those everyday actions we're taking on farm or throughout the supply chain is actually of real interest to the public. It blows me away how many times I see social posts for such a simple image, right? It could be a muster or inaction, or it might be, a lamb on the ground, and that image can get over, 1,000 shares, and it's incredible to this moment. There's just so much interest in what we do in Australian agriculture, and I think if more farmers on the ground, understood the significance of what one share can do to communicating to the city people, even other industry folk, I think more people would absolutely gravitate towards social media to be able to feel comfortable to share their story.
Absolutely, it helps them understand it, but it also helps the farmer or the rancher or the cowboy know. Take pride in what they do, and what they might think is a normal day to walk up and see a new baby horse. Most people don't get to see that. So I think it's important to share, not in an arrogant way, but just to kind of bring them on the ranch without them having to drive out there. And just like you did on your platform, you had the great video of the people that were picnicking on the lake, and you shot it from the top down. It was gorgeous. I showed it to so many people, and there's strength in that social media for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was Buckleby Station. That was a special day for us because we were sharing our learnings of how we were able to go from sort of barren landscapes, eaten out country, to actually revitalising and re-vegging that landscape. So that was pretty cool. And
that's really cool.
Tell me more about the types of people you get on your show. Where are they from? What do they want to, you know, what's their purpose? Why are they excited to talk with you?
Yeah, I don't know why they want to talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. They love telling their story. They know they come on our show, the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, and it's not a gotcha kind of show. We want to hear their story. Yeah. And I think it's important, and they're all top tier people. There's Olympians and Hall of Famers and directors, actresses, but they all are tied back to the horse world in some way. But they get up, we talk about their success a little bit, but we talk about how you get up there. And then if something bad happens, how you get back up there. So we get all types, a lot of fun.
That's awesome. In terms of some of the challenges that you've heard when you're interviewing some of these people, what have been some common themes around the challenges that they've perhaps faced and how they've gotten over those challenges to come out the other side?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. We've had people that have come to America to do something, the Olympics, and with zero money, and was trying to ride everything they could to get to the Olympic level to ride a horse, and just bounced around, but he never quit. And I keep hearing that from so many of our guests. They just never quit because they have a passion. And whether it's the director that made her first movie or the charo that's won 7 national championships in Mexico, they tell that story of never quitting. And that's always the biggest issue is people are telling you, they get in your ear, you start getting in your mind a little bit, you just don't stop.
Yeah, not quitting is a big one, isn't it? And that's something that we try and instill in, our children. It's that growth mindset. It's not you can't do it, it's you can't do it yet. Keep
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've got another one that Papa used to impart on us. He's passed away now, but he used to say there's many educated geniuses in the world, but nothing can take or replace determination and persistence. So if you've got
smart man.
Pardon?
Smart man.
Yeah, that's right. He used to bring us almonds and brain food to boarding school every Saturday. It was one of those guys that just, he cared a lot and imparted knowledge, which was awesome. So great. And what about you? What challenges and adversity have you faced in your life, and what's helped you overcome those challenges?
Oh my goodness, there's been so many. From personal injuries, just doing what we do for a living, there's been a lot of injuries, and but it's just getting over it. I look out the window and I want to be out there, so I'm going to do my work and get well enough to go back out there. So that was probably one of them. And the business changes every day, the industry changes, and just like social media, it changes all the time. Yeah. So we're always trying to learn more, learn the next thing, and see if it applies in our business, and just try and keep up to a certain extent, but really try and get ahead best we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, looking forward, not looking back.
Always. Say yes and look forward.
That's it. And well, that's right. When you look on a horse, you don't look, when you get on a horse, I learned, right, in the early days, you don't get on sideways and look horizontal. You got to look forward.
Yeah, you'll run into a tree if you don't.
Exactly, that's right. How has your passion become the driver to your business? Because what speaks to me here, talking with you and having a chat earlier as well, is you're super passionate about life in general, but everyone's got to have a driver to why they stick in business. So what's your why, and how is that sort of driving what you do?
Yeah, definitely goes back to passion. And I love it. It's not like I'm working, this is work and it doesn't feel like it, this is great, and having new jobs for people, giving them an opportunity. I love that. And being with the animals and people and meeting new people, it's a wonderful day. So that drives me and keeps me motivated, and learning new stuff every day helps me so much, because you never get bored unless you just want to, and I don't want to.
This is so true. And Scott, tell me, because we didn't discuss this, do you do consulting coaching for people also on the ground? Do they come to your place and you help them through troubles that they're having with their horses, or what does that part look like?
We used to do that a lot, and I'm an AQHA pro horseman, so that was part of our job, was to go and help people. I love it, but with traveling so much now, it's kind of hard to have a regular schedule. But we do help people. People call us all the time. I give out my cell phone. They can email us, and we always try and do help where we can. Love working with nonprofits, helping them try to figure out a business model to run it as a profitable business. And with social media, once again, it really helps. Someone can get on a horse and show me what they're doing, and we can Facebook Live or whatever we want to do and work through it. So there's ways to work around it. But yeah, I love doing that.
Fantastic. So let's move now into social media. What channels are you finding most successful that complements your podcast? So getting your podcast message out into the world through social.
For the podcast, there's several. We're finding more and more, the Pandoras and the Spotifys and the Apples, they all are great and they help us out so much. YouTube helps us, but what helps us also is putting a picture of a horse, and everybody looks at that horse picture, and the next post is maybe a show or something. It's a balance. It's a fine balance. And it also depends on the platform or the voice who you're going for, at that certain spot. And it's just trying to figure that out. Because we do Instagram, and that's a certain age group. We do Facebook for a certain age group. We're going to start doing TikTok. So, we're definitely focusing on different areas, because if you just focus on one, for us, we're going to miss everybody else, and we don't want to miss anyone. We want to make as many friends as we can. So we try and be at all the different graphics, but do a good job being there.
Good work. I think too, it's bringing people along for the journey, isn't it? Rather than, a podcast show which is released on a regular schedule with different personalities. You're able with social media to not only attract new audiences, but re-engage those audiences that perhaps have listened to one episode, but now, it's been a bit of a gap. They haven't listened to episode 6 and 7 or 1000 or 2000 in your case. And therefore, they can still follow along, and you can still re-engage them through social media. And in fact, tell a whole new story in social media, not so much promoting the podcast, but, integrating that or celebrating the lifestyle with your listeners, be seen to be a part of their community, which genuinely you are.
Yeah, I love it, and I feel the community is so much farther than the county line, so to speak. It's worldwide now. And just like speaking with you, and we've had guests from other countries on our show, and it's funny, everybody's just working hard trying to do the right thing on social media and grow their platforms. And in between the shows, like you say, we really make it. We bring them into our family, into our ranch. Like they drove in the front gate the other night. We posted a video. We were driving the Kawasaki mule, and we had the dog, and deer ran up, and there was a horse running. And we want people to feel they're part of our life, so they understand the stories.
Fantastic. I really like that mentality that you have, and it's genuine. And I think that's the other thing with social media. If there's any tips for people like yourselves who work on the ground as well as work on social, is keeping that authenticity in your content. It's understanding that those opportunities that come up on the ranch, they're exactly what really drives that momentum now when it comes to end users, because they don't want to necessarily engage with the company face. They want to understand, well, what are the ethos of these companies? Who are the people behind them? What activities are actually occurring that I can connect with personally? And and that helps build trust. And trust is when we can start to build the relationship, and then relationships is what builds business. So it really does come back to that authentic connection.
I love that so much. That's exactly what we preach. That is 100% accurate. Businesses, relationships, and we put pictures up, and we tell people, we fail all the time, but that's the only way you really learn. And it helps other people learn without making the same mistake, And my first talk I ever did was at a university in Texas. It was called Texas A&M. And the students, one of them said, "Have you ever been hurt?" So I answered the question, which you never do as a cowboy. You keep that quiet. And the second question was, "Have you ever made mistakes?" And I was like, man, that's a great question. So I was just honest and told them, and they just leaned in. And so now our shows, If we mess up, or if we're driving through the pasture and there's a tree that fell down and we haven't cleaned it up yet, we show it. We're real and we're honest, and I think that's important for people to see on social media. Nothing staged.
100%. How do you contend with any negative comments? Animal welfare is a big issue globally, environmental sustainability. I mean, we could go on forever. Have you had negative commenting or animal activists on your channels? And if so, how have you managed that?
Ooh, good question. We haven't had a lot. And the reason is they see the way we love our animals. They see the way we take care of our place. We're very open about that, and we don't really have any secrets. And why would we do something that's not good for the land or for the animals? Because that's our livelihood. That's the way I put food on my table for my wife and daughter. I'm going to respect the land and take care of the animals, and then hopefully help other people learn how to do it, and I'll learn from them. And that's the goal.
What essential skills have you learned in entrepreneurship that's helped your business thrive?
It's okay to fail. That's the way you learn. And I keep going back to that, but it's just the truth. It's just, if you fail, you're trying. And if you're trying, you're going to get better. And if you fail and you learn, you're even farther ahead. And that's one of them. And it's always saying yes. And it's always trying to be educated. And it's okay to get educated your first year in the business or after a lot of years in the business. And because everything's evolving, the horse evolves, the cattle evolves, the weather patterns change, social media changes, and it's great just to keep learning and be educated. That's helped so much to have that open mindset.
Open mindset, yeah. Always learning. Life is
always.
It's just, I mean, you can't not continue to learn, right? Even if things didn't change, you're still learning new things, aren't you? You're learning new things about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the truth. Yes, absolutely.
One last question for you, Scott, and this has been so much fun to catch up with you here.
So much.
We're not live per se, but we are having a good conversation nonetheless. What would you tell your younger self if you were doing it all over again?
Whenever I would work a horse, and as soon as social media kind of came out, we were selling really regional, our horses and cattle, and we were really regional. Social media helped us go international. But at the beginning, I would have somebody else do that part of it. And I wouldn't need to know that. I would focus on my horse or whatever I was working on. Now, if I could go back, I would learn that even more so, because now I'm trying to learn it, but it would help me do a better job on that horse if I would understand what the people were seeing. And now I know and I understand what they're looking for. And at that point, I was just trying to put on a good ride.
Yeah. Oh, that's gold right there. Often we can have our blinkers on, can't we? And we can focus on what we want, but what we forget is, what other people actually crave and what their needs are. And as you say, when it comes to entrepreneurship and business, there's got to be a need. It's got to be clear. And there's got to be a way to solve it and communicate what that solution is. And there's got to be an outcome, because if there's no positive outcome to that customer or audience, then you actually don't have a business. So look, Scott, this has been so fantastic. Tell me, where can people go to look you up, to find you on socials, or to subscribe to your podcast?
Awesome. Thank you so much. So it's Cowboy Entrepreneur. And it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. YouTube is the show. So if they go to Cowboy Entrepreneur on YouTube, they can find us there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is all just Cowboy Entrepreneur. And a lot of other platforms, iHeart and Apple and Google and such. Okay,
one more question. If someone subscribes to Cowboy Entrepreneur, what can they expect to learn? What do they go away with?
Oh my goodness, the guests. They bring so much knowledge and passion about what they do. And their stories are so just amazing. I learned every time. I do the show as a host, and I learn every time. And after the show, I have so much passion about it because the guests are just so wonderful. They just bring so many great stories at a high level that you might not know. And they let you into their secret where they failed, and they kind of tell you how to get better. And are they all business driven, or are some not so much business driven? Is there just an array of sort of backgrounds that they're all entrepreneurs in a sense, as far as with business, the movie directors, the screenwriters, the Olympians, the horse trainers, they all have their own business. So when we're talking social media, we're talking training or talking customers, it's just like you and I talking. And that's what's so fun.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thanks so much again, Scott. And what have you got planned for the rest of the evening? It's quite late there now, isn't it?
It is. It's getting later, but I still have some work to do at the barn, and I'll get on the tractor, feed some horses, and maybe call it a day then. You're just starting out though, so you got a day in front of you.
That's right. I've got a full Thursday in front of me, which I'm excited about, and the sun is shining, so we'll be up for a lovely day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thanks, Scott. We'll talk later. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.